My brother called it just a room. That's the part I keep coming back to, not the argument, not the look on my sister-in-law's face when she said it. Just those 3 words, delivered over leftover pasta on a Tuesday night, like it was the most reasonable thing anyone had ever said. Just a room. I had lived in that room for 2 years. But more than that, I had built that room. When I moved in, it was a beige box with water stains on the ceiling and a closet door that wouldn't close all the way. I spent 4 weekends and $11,000 turning it into something I was actually proud of. New drywall, proper insulation because the original was basically tissue paper, a split AC unit I had installed myself, myself plus a YouTube tutorial and a licensed HVAC guy I found on Yelp. I built a desk that ran the full length of one wall. I ran Ethernet cable through the baseboard so my video calls didn't drop in the middle of client presentations. I hung blackout curtains. I put plants on the windowsill. It wasn't just a room. It was the first place I had ever made entirely mine. I'm 29. I work remotely as a UX designer for a healthcare software company based in Austin. I make good money, not brag about it money, but enough to have options. Enough that when my brother and his wife bought their first house 3 years ago and they were stretched thin, I offered to rent the spare room instead of getting my own apartment. It made sense at the time. I was paying $1,400 a month, which was below market for the area. They got help with the mortgage. I got a place to live close to my parents, my gym, my life. It worked fine, for a while. My brother, I'll call him by what he is, which is my older brother, the one who always got the benefit of the doubt in every room we ever shared growing up. He's a good person in the abstract. He means well, in the way that people who never have to deal with consequences of their decisions always mean well. His wife is fine. She makes casseroles and sends holiday cards and laughs too loud at her own jokes. I don't dislike her. I just know exactly what she is, which is someone who has never once been told that what she wants might not be the most important thing in the room. The dinner was on a Thursday in March. I remember because I had just wrapped up a project handoff and I was in a genuinely good mood for the first time in weeks. I had cooked, actual cooking, not just reheating something, chicken piccata with capers, the kind of meal that takes effort and feels worth it when you sit down. We were all eating together, which didn't always happen, and for about 20 minutes it was pleasant. Normal. Then my sister-in-law set down her fork. "So, we've been wanting to talk to you about something," she said. She had her voice in what I think of as her announcement tone, which she also uses when she's telling you a restaurant has a wait time and she already put her name on the list, like she's doing you a favor. I looked up. "My parents are moving back from Phoenix," my brother said. He was looking at his plate. "The heat's been getting to my dad. His doctor wants him somewhere cooler. They've been looking at places, but we'd feel better having them close," my sister-in-law finished. "Especially with my dad's health stuff. We want to keep an eye on them." "Of course," I said. "I meant it. That made sense. So they're getting a place nearby." A pause. "Well," my brother said, still looking at his plate, "that's kind of the thing." My sister-in-law reached over and refilled her own water glass. "They're on a fixed income. Places around here are expensive, you know that, and we have the space." I knew before she finished the sentence. I felt it in the way you feel a car starting to slide on ice. That fraction of a second where you understand exactly what's about to happen and your body goes very still. "Your room is perfect for them," she said. "It's the biggest spare room. It has the AC unit, and they're older, so the quiet end of the house is really better for." "You want me to move out," I said. "Not a question. We want you to move downstairs," my brother said quickly. "The basement. We're going to finish it, put up drywall, add a bathroom." "When?" Another pause. "Well, we were thinking, if you could be out of your room by the 1st of next month, we could get my parents settled, and then we'd start on the basement in the spring." "It's March," I said. "Spring is now." "Late spring," my sister-in-law said. "May or June, we'd make it nice. You could help design it." She smiled at me. It was the smile of someone who thinks they've offered something generous. I looked at her. I looked at my brother, who was now moving his chicken piccata around with a fork. The chicken I had cooked. "Let me think about it," I said. "Of course," my sister-in-law said, in a tone that suggested she had assumed I would have very little to think about. I nodded and ate the rest of my dinner and talked about something else, the weather, a TV show, I don't even remember. I was very calm. My mother would tell you I have always been calm in moments when I shouldn't be, and that it's something that has frightened her a little since I was about 14. I wasn't calm because I was okay with it. I was calm because something in me had already made a decision, and decisions once made tend to quiet everything down. Here is what they didn't know about me. I had already been saving for my own apartment for 8 months. I had a number in mind, a neighborhood in mind, a target lease date of September. This request just moved my timeline up by 5 months. That was annoying. That was gnawing, insurmountable. What it was, actually, was clarifying. I found the apartment on a Friday. I wasn't even seriously looking. I had a Zillow alert set for months, mostly out of habit, but a listing popped up in a building I liked, 2 blocks from a coffee shop I went to every Sunday morning. 9th floor. 1 bedroom plus a small office nook. In-unit laundry. Available May 1st. I adored it on Saturday morning, told my brother I was running errands. I signed the lease on Monday. I didn't tell them. I went home that evening, made a cup of tea, and sat at the desk I had built and looked at my plants on the windowsill and thought about the logistics very carefully. My name was on several things in that house that they had, over 2 years, quietly stopped paying attention to. The Hulu account we'd been splitting, my card. The Spotify family plan, mine. I had added my sister-in-law to my Amazon Prime account as a household member 18 months ago because she kept asking to borrow my free shipping. I had a spare key to my brother's car that he had given me for emergencies and which I had used once when he locked himself out of a grocery store parking lot. Small things. Things that accumulate. I also had documentation. I'm a UX designer. I document everything. I had a folder on my laptop, labeled, organized, time-stamped, with every Venmo payment I'd sent for rent over 2 years, every receipt from the renovation I'd done on the room, the quote from the HVAC company, the receipt for the insulation, the materials for the desk, $11,240 spread across 4 months of work. I wasn't sure I'd need any of it, but I am my mother's daughter, and my mother has never once in her life thrown away a receipt. I gave myself 3 weeks. The first thing I did was stop renewing things. The Spotify family plan came up for renewal the week after I signed the lease. I let it lapse. I removed my sister-in-law from my Amazon account. I logged out of the shared streaming accounts on the living room TV and changed the passwords. I started quietly moving things I cared about to my car over the course of 2 weeks. Books. The good kitchen knife I'd brought from my old apartment, the small succulent collection from my windowsill, 1 or 2 at a time so it wasn't obvious, my backup hard drives, my good headphones. I scheduled movers for the Saturday of the last week in April. My brother and his wife were going to a wedding upstate that weekend. I knew because I had watched my sister-in-law spend 3 weeks agonizing over her outfit for it. I had the code to the garage. I would be moved out and gone before they came home Sunday night. The week before I left, I also transferred the utilities that had my name on them. The internet? I was the account holder because I'd been the one who called to set it up when they moved in, and I'd been paying half and then eventually all of it because it was just easier. I called the provider and had the account transferred to my brother's name. He'd need to call and set up payment. Until then, it would revert to a basic plan. I cancelled the parking spot I had been renting for them from a neighbor. My contact, my arrangement, and let the neighbor know it was available again. I brought the spare car key back inside and left it in the kitchen junk drawer. The Saturday of the move was quiet and efficient. The movers were there by 8. By 1 in the afternoon, my room was empty. I had dismantled the desk and taken it with me because I had built it and it was mine. I had removed the AC unit. That one took some thought, but I had paid for it and I had the receipt and I was taking it. I patched the holes where it had been installed. I left the room cleaner than I found it. I left a note on the kitchen counter. Short. Decided it was a good time to get my own place. Room's ready for your parents. Best of luck with everything. I put my house key next to the note. I drove to my new apartment. I tipped the movers well. I ordered a pizza and sat on the floor. No furniture yet, that was coming the following week, and watched the sun move across the bare walls of my new living room. My phone was quiet. It stayed quiet for 9 days. The first call came from my brother. I let it go to voicemail. I was in a client meeting, and also I let it go to voicemail. He said, "Hey, so, we got home and just call me back, okay?" I texted him that evening. "Sorry, slammed with work. What's up?" He called again. I answered. "You moved out," he said. Not accusatory, genuinely confused, like I'd done something physically impossible, like I had teleported. "Yeah," I said. "I found a place." "Good timing, actually. Your parents can get settled right away. You didn't say anything. We didn't know you were. We thought you were thinking about it." "I thought about it," I said. "And this worked out better for my timeline." Long pause. "The internet's not working," he said. "Like, it's working, but it's really slow. My wife can't get anything to load." "Oh yeah, I transferred the account to your name. You'll need to call and set up payment and pick a plan. I was on a business tier, which is why it was fast. The residential basic is slower. You might want to upgrade." Silence. "You were paying for the internet for the last year and a half, yay." He didn't say anything to that. "The number's on the router," I said. "Have a good night." I hung up and poured myself a glass of wine. I didn't have wine glasses yet. I had packed them in a box I hadn't opened, so I drank it out of a coffee mug sitting on my air mattress, and it tasted excellent. A week later, my sister-in-law texted me. "Hey, do you have the login for Hulu? It's saying the account doesn't exist." I cancelled that account when I moved. It was under my email. "Oh, okay. Do you have the Netflix password?" "I changed it. Sorry." A long pause. "Then I also can't get into Amazon Prime. It's saying I'm not on the account." "Yeah, I removed you when I moved out. I pay for that individually now." Another pause. Longer. "That seems kind of petty." I looked at that message for a while. I thought about the $11,000 I'd spent on a room I would never see again. I thought about the chicken piccata. "I think you'll find a plan that works for you," I wrote back. "Good luck with your in-laws." I did not hear from her again for 3 weeks. When I did, it was not a text. My brother called on a Sunday morning. I was at my coffee shop, the one 2 blocks away, sitting by the window with a latte and a laptop, and I almost didn't answer because I was in the middle of something. I answered, "Okay," he said. "So, it's been an adjustment. How are your in-laws settling in?" A pause that told me a lot. They're still in Phoenix, actually. They pushed the move back. Something with my father-in-law's doctors. They're figuring out timing." I kept my face very neutral, even though no one could see my face. "Oh, when do you think they'll come?" "Maybe 4, maybe later. We're not sure." I took a sip of my latte. "So your room is it's empty right now," he said. "And we were wondering you could, if you wanted to move back in while we wait, to save money or whatever." "I signed a year lease," I said. "I'm good here." Right. No, I figured. I just thought it was just a thought." I looked out the window at the street. A woman was walking a dog. The dog was wearing a little yellow raincoat. It was not raining, but I respected the preparedness. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Yeah. When you asked me to move out, did you think about it for very long?" Long pause. "What do you mean?" "Before you had that dinner. Did you sit with it for a week, think it through, consider how I might feel about it? Or did it feel like the obvious solution and you just had to let me know?" He didn't answer right away. I could hear him breathing. I could hear, distantly, my sister-in-law's voice somewhere in the background asking something I couldn't make out. "I think," he said slowly, "we probably should have talked to you differently." "Yeah," I said, "you probably should have. Are you doing okay? Like, are you okay?" I looked around my coffee shop. I knew the barista's name. I had a plant in my apartment that was doing extremely well in the southern light. I had cooked 3 real meals this week. My savings account, freed from the drain of quietly subsidizing a household that had stopped noticing I was doing it, had gone up by an amount that made me feel like a different person. "I'm really good," I said. And I meant it in a way I hadn't meant anything in a while. He was quiet. "I'm glad," he said. He sounded like he was. He also sounded like a person standing in a house that was slightly colder and slightly darker and slightly more complicated than it used to be, trying to figure out exactly how that had happened. I didn't explain it to him. He was smart enough to work it out. We met for lunch a month later. Just the two of us. His wife had a thing, he said, which probably meant she wasn't ready to sit across from me yet, and I was fine with that. We went to a taco place we've been going to since we were kids, the kind of place where the salsa is too spicy and the chips are always warm and nothing on the menu has changed in 15 years. He looked tired in the way that people look tired when they've recently had to learn how many things they didn't realize someone else was doing for them. "The Spotify thing," he said after we'd ordered. "My wife has been very upset about the Spotify thing." I laughed. I couldn't help it. He laughed too, a second later, reluctantly. "She had 8 years of playlists on that account. She can start a new account. There might even be a way to transfer the playlists. I'm not sure. YouTube has tutorials. I'll tell her you said that." He was smiling a little. "She'll love that." We ate our tacos. We talked about our parents. He told me about a problem he was having with a co-worker that had nothing to do with me, and I listened, and I gave him actual advice, and it was fine. It was better than fine. It was like some pressure had released from between us that I hadn't even consciously noticed was there. When the check came, I reached for it. "I got it," he said. He put his card down before I could. It was a small thing. He meant it as a small thing. But I noticed it. On the walk back to my car, he stopped on the sidewalk and looked at me. "She's hormonal," he said, which was not relevant to anything we'd been discussing. "My wife. She's been really emotional lately. I think she thought you'd always just be there, like it wouldn't change." "I know," I said. "Was it really that bad, living with us?" I thought about the dinner. The way my sister-in-law had said just a room in the voice she uses for things that are already decided. The way my brother had looked at his plate. "It wasn't bad," I said. "It just wasn't mine." He nodded. He looked like he understood, or was trying to. "The room looks good," he said. "We painted it, got new curtains." "I'm glad," I said. "I meant that too. It's not that I wanted the room to be bad. I just didn't want it to be bad. I just didn't want it to be mine anymore." I got in my car. I drove back to my apartment. I took the elevator to the 9th floor and unlocked my door and walked into a space that was, impractically and entirely, just mine. I have a couch now. Real furniture. A coffee table I found at an estate sale that needed some work but cleaned up beautifully. My desk from the old room reassembled against the longest wall. My plants in the southern window. A rug that took me 3 weeks to decide on and that I am still honestly extremely pleased with. There's a lesson here, probably about speaking up earlier, or about contracts and documentation, or about the particular way families can love you and still see you primarily as a function rather than a person. I could say something tidy about boundaries, about knowing your worth, about the compounding cost of being the reliable one. But what I actually think about, when I think about those 9 quiet days before my brother called, is how the silence felt. Heavy in the best way. The silence of a space that asks nothing of you. The silence of a morning that belongs entirely to you. I think some people never get that. I think some people give and give quietly, invisibly, convinced that being needed is the same thing as being valued. I did that for a while. I don't say it with bitterness. I learned things, I helped people I love. I have no regrets about that chapter. But a chapter is not the whole book. And I am, at 29, very interested in the rest of the story. I've thought a lot about that dinner, the chicken piccata I cooked. The way my sister-in-law set down her fork before she spoke, like she had rehearsed the pause. What I keep landing on is this. Nobody in that kitchen thought they were doing something wrong. That's not me being generous. I genuinely believe it. My brother thought he was solving a logistics problem. His wife thought she was taking care of her parents. They looked at my room and saw square footage. They looked at me and saw someone who would adjust. And the uncomfortable truth is, I had spent 2 years teaching them that was exactly what I was. Every time I quietly picked up a bill they forgot about, I was teaching them. Every time I absorbed an inconvenience without saying anything, I was teaching them. I was so focused on being low maintenance, on not being the difficult one, that I made myself into furniture. Useful, present, easy to rearrange. That's not their fault. That's a thing I did. What changed that night wasn't that they crossed a line. They had been nudging over lines for a while, small enough that I could always talk myself out of noticing. What changed was that I finally let myself hear what was being said underneath the words. Not, can you be flexible, but we assume you will be. Not, we'd love for you to stay, but we need you to stay in a smaller space on a slower timeline for reasons that have nothing to do with you. And something in me just didn't want to argue about it. Didn't want to sit across from them and make a case for my own comfort. That felt like exactly the wrong use of my energy. So I made a different choice. I chose quietly, and I chose quickly, and I chose quickly, and I chose entirely for myself. That felt strange at first, almost selfish in a way I wasn't used to. I had to sit with that. I had to ask myself whether leaving without a fight was running away or just walking toward something better. I still think it was the second one. Running away looks over its shoulder. I didn't look back. The thing about being reliable is that people stopped noticing it. The internet worked, so no one thought about who was paying for it. The room was warm, so no one thought about who had put in the insulation. Invisible labor has a way of becoming invisible to the person doing it too, after long enough. You start to think, this is just what I do. This is just who I am. It took a satellite dish going dark and a streaming account going quiet for the people I love to ask a question they should have asked years earlier. Wait, how did all of this work? I don't resent them for not knowing. I do think it matters that I stopped hiding it. My brother is figuring things out. He paid for lunch. Small thing, but I noticed. My sister-in-law will probably come around eventually, or she won't, and either way, I'll be on the 9th floor with my plants and my rug and my coffee shop 2 blocks away. What I know now, at 29, is that the most important thing I have ever done for the people I love was to stop making my own needs invisible. Not because I wanted them to feel guilty. Because invisible needs don't go away. They just come back later, harder, with interest. You cannot sustain something you pretend doesn't cost you anything. That's not strength. That's just a slow leak.